A Delaware constitutional law professor says that Ted Cruz is not qualified to run for president. And guess who she got a call from? This is the Delaware Way.
The legal question is quite straightforward, which is that the children of U.S. citizens born abroad are natural-born citizens, are citizens by birth. That's true if you're serving in the military. That's why John McCain is a natural-born citizen, even though he's born in Panama. It's true if your parents are missionaries abroad. That's why George Romney was a natural-born citizen when he ran in 1968, even though he was born in Mexico to Mormon missionary parents. The legal question is straightforward.
I'm Larry Menti. Welcome to the Delaware Way. It is a big issue in the presidential campaign. Is Ted Cruz an American citizen? Is he qualified under the Constitution to be president of the United States? The guest I'm about to introduce you to says maybe not. Professor Mary Bridig McManamon is a professor, a constitutional law professor at Widener University, Delaware Law School. Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
Before we get into the details of this, I remember when I first saw the story based on what you're writing, and it blew up.
It did.
You were everywhere. Talk about what that was like. Who were you getting calls from? Where did you appear?
Let's see, CNN, MSNBC, Headline News, on Fox Radio, WPHL. It was sort of like, I was actually on Denver radio last week. So
it's still happening. Of course, here you are. And that's why it's still happening. Were you contacted by any of the campaigns by any chance?
I have just received an email from the Trump campaign saying Mr. Trump would like to talk to me.
Really?
Yes.
Can we go? We'll talk about that after the show.
Right.
But it would be fascinating. Are you going to say yes, obviously, right?
Well, the thing is that my work is really historical, and I think it has a lot of integrity and respect out there. And so I think I really need to remain above the fray. So I will say hello and nice to meet you, but I don't think I would.
Did you get the feeling from the email that they wanted more than that?
Well, he's threatening suit right now, which is all about sort of what I've been writing about. So I don't know.
But you can be an expert witness.
Yeah, sure, I could be an expert witness.
And that's probably the extent of it.
I hope.
Why do you say you hope? There's always enough money. Is that?
Well, no. I just sort of don't want to get pulled into the election, that's all.
If he wants you to repeat things you've already written about or already said, you wouldn't have a problem with that.
I would know, because I said what I found to be correct as to the law.
Oh, that's fascinating. Let's go back now. Most people don't seem to agree with you. You say that he may not be qualified, or he's not qualified to run for president.
It depends on what you mean by most people, because interestingly, since my piece appeared in the Washington Post, I've received loads of emails from people who said, yes, I was born overseas, I know I'm not eligible to be the President of the United States. There are a few commentators that have written law review articles who take that position, and so the pundit class has now taken the position that those law review articles must be correct. But when you go back and look at them and look at the law, you find that they are using an inaccurate picture of what the law says.
As you listen to some law professors, they all say the same thing, that it was settled law based on a congressional interpretation of English law. Is that correct?
That's what they say it is, but it's, well, okay, can I back up?
Let's start from the beginning.
All right. The phrase natural-born citizen is in the Constitution, and that's a requirement for the presidency. Under English common law, that meant you had to be born in the territory of the sovereign, which was England and now the United States. When it came over to the United States, they picked it up, and all the early writers show, James Madison included, show that they meant for you to be born within the territory of the United States. Now, there's one statute that was passed in 1795 that had a really brief life. It was rewritten by James Madison in 1795. The 1790 statute used the phrase natural-born citizen. It was deleted almost immediately. But a lot of people jump on that and say, oh, because Congress passed a statute that mentioned natural-born citizens, it must mean Congress can change the definition.
So they decided against it.
That's
and
right.
nobody reports that.
Right. They only focus on the first and not on the repeal.
So, because Ted Cruz, when he talks about this, talks about it as if it's settled law, as if it's silly, as if it's ridiculous. But you see a problem then for him down the line.
Absolutely, especially as I mentioned earlier, Donald Trump is now talking about suing.
Well, he already has 2 standing lawsuits. The 2 Democratic congressmen have filed suits against him. So if Donald Trump does it, that would be the 3rd. It's just that Donald Trump would get the most notoriety because the media seems to be fascinated by him. And apparently he needs your help in all of this. So you're saying, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but everybody else's findings are wrong?
Inaccurate.
Have you found something that no one else knew about, or
Yes,
everybody else
I have.
chose to ignore?
No, I found something that nobody else knows about. It's absolutely fantastic. Evidently, the Huguenots coming over to London collected the names of all the people who were naturalized in Britain. And there are hundreds of people born out of Britain who were naturalized. Now, they wouldn't have become naturalized if they had already been citizens of Britain. So that it proves that Britain required you to be naturalized if you were born outside, and that was brought over to the United States.
You understand the repercussions of this. It doesn't just affect Ted Cruz. I mean, there's many people who were born outside of the United States that now you're saying are not U.S. citizens.
No, there's a difference.
Okay.
They're U.S. citizens by statute. That means they were naturalized at birth, but they're not natural-born citizens.
I get it, and that eliminates them from running for president.
Right, and
is that the only thing it eliminates them
Exactly, that's it. So somebody who comes here and is naturalized or is naturalized at birth, there's one job in the United States they can't have, and that's the presidency.
So you would expect that if this is challenged, a challenger would win the lawsuit?
Predicting what the federal courts might do is a little bit more difficult. I mean, I know what the law says, but I have seen cases where it didn't necessarily go the way the law said.
And why would they do that? For the good of the country? Would they do it for political reasons? All of the above?
All of the above, yeah.
And would you expect that? I guess it would depend on the court, right?
Yeah, and of course right now we've got a 4-4 court, so with Scalia gone, I don't know what would happen.
Quickly, we don't have much time left, and since you just mentioned that, since you're a constitutional law professor, this idea that the Republicans would like to put off the nomination because it's a political election year, is there precedent for that?
No. No, in fact, the last one who was Anthony Kennedy and Ronald Reagan's last year.
Yeah, but that opening happened in July. So it was a year and a half before. This opening happened in the last year.
Okay, I've got a better one for you then.
Okay.
John Marshall, Chief Justice of the United States, was appointed and confirmed 1 month before Jefferson took office.
And when was that opening?
January 20th or so. That was when March 4th was Inauguration Day.
Okay.
January 20th, and he took his seat on February 4th.
So you're saying that at least in the last 150 or 180 years, there's no precedent for it then?
That's correct.
Professor, thank you so much. Thanks for being here. Professor Mary Bridig McManamon, Widener University, Delaware Law School. When we come back, we're going to check in on the economy of Kent County. Here's a hint about it. Manufacturing jobs are coming back to Kent County. It's not happening anywhere else in the country. We'll talk about how they did it next on the Delaware Way.